Hey, welcome back to The Dive. Today on the show, we have one of our favorite guests, David Morgan from The Morgan Report. David's joining us today to talk about his crypto conspiracy podcast, Taylor Swift being the only celebrity to turn down a massive payday from FTX, de-dollarization, silver, gold, and the recent banking turmoil. Hey, David, welcome back to The Dive. Thank you so much for joining us today.
Well, Cassandra, it's always a pleasure. Thank you.
Okay, so David, we've been following your crypto conspiracy podcast on your YouTube channel. We have to ask about this Taylor Swift story. Reports are saying that Taylor Swift was the only celebrity to turn down a massive payday from FTX. Why do you think that she was the only one who did any due diligence? And what do you think this says about the entire crypto space?
Well, I'm going to have to flip that on you. I think what it says on the entire crypto space is that some people don't know how to analyze risk. Maybe some of the celebrities just saw it as easy money, but I will refer back to you on women's intuition. I have no idea why Taylor Swift said no way. Maybe she knows markets. Maybe she had a gut instinct. I have no idea. What's your idea?
I'm not sure. I heard that her dad was in the banking industry, so maybe there was something to do with that.
That makes sense.
Okay, so about your podcast, what is the craziest conspiracy that you've heard so far?
Oh, the craziest conspiracy I have heard so far is that if you get enough 100-ounce silver bars and build yourself a cave and get inside of it, you'll be protected from a nuclear blast. It's ridiculous. But I've heard that one. And that is the one that stuck with me. It's pretty funny.
That is hilarious. Have any of the crypto conspiracy theories that have been presented to you on the podcast had a significant impact on public perceptions of cryptocurrencies? And if so, how?
I would say yes, because when I started the series, and as you know, I think there's 30 episodes now, we called the top in Bitcoin, John Perez and myself. So that gave us almost instant credibility. And then we had long discussions about risk assessment. And then we brought it into the fore of where Bitcoin originated at MIT and how much Jeffrey Epstein was involved with MIT. And many people that worked with Epstein were involved with Bitcoin. So this was something that no one had ever addressed before. And that's why I decided to start the crypto conspiracy, because if you look at the first 4 episodes, you've got a pretty good base of actual fact that you can vet for yourself and verify, and realize that perhaps there was more to this whole Satoshi Nakamoto character than we might have perceived initially. I mean, when it was launched, it was a libertarian's dream. I mean, we had free money, no government interference, peer-to-peer, and all that. Yet that was usurped by MasterCard. So in episode 14, I got one of the best known historians, or archivists is their fancy name, and I just re-interviewed him, in fact, recently. But Kurt Wuckert really knows his stuff when it comes to Bitcoin. And I had made a lot of assertions and felt strongly that I could verify every one of them. But just to be on the safe side, and I'm open to criticism, brought him on, I think it was episode 14, and said, A, B, C, D, E, and F, are they all true? We went through them one at a time and said, yep, you got it.
Okay, so let's move on to de-dollarization, since it's been a hot topic with the mainstream media lately. How much are you buying into this idea? And what does the decline of the US dollar as a reserve currency mean for the global economy?
Oh, Cassandra, that's a tough one. First of all, the dollar is being de-dollarized. I mean, you see all these agreements between nation states that will accept payment in local currency for oil or, wheat or whatever. So certainly the dollar doesn't have the all-star status it had a few years back. I mean, in a factual way. I mean, there were people in the past that wanted to de-dollarize. Saddam Hussein, he had an untimely demise. Omar Gaddafi wanted to go to a silver gold dinar and usurp the dollar, and he had an untimely demise. So that power that the military industrial complex held to protect the dollar no longer exists. Saudi Arabia basically made an agreement with Russia. So the dollar is being de-dollarized. I think the bigger point is what you suggested, and that is, what goes on from here. And the answer I'm very clear on is a new system needs to be put in place, and it needs to be put in place soon. The problem with that is they don't have a good idea. All they have is an idea that controls people more, takes away more of their freedom, and allows the banks to spy on them. So there's going to be a big pushback on that, in my opinion. And whether gold comes into the play or not remains to be determined. I think initially no. They think they're so arrogant that they'll think they can put over this central bank digital currency, clear it to the Bank of International Settlements, and proceed as usual in a better form for them being able to control everything that we do. I, again, think there'll be a big pushback on that. So we're very much in interesting times. And then I want to carry one other step because I think it's important. And that is in the States here, the pushback for states' rights. There are 3 states that you can use gold and silver in any transaction as long as both parties agree. There's several states that have untightened their regulations surrounding gold and silver as far as taxation at the local level, state taxes, that kind of thing. Texas is making noise like they want to put a depository in for their state. All citizens are allowed to use it, and you can basically transact in the state using gold. And I just want to mention that because it's important, because when these big changes in the monetary system take place, they don't take place like overnight and all of a sudden it instantly happens. I mean, going back and digressing for a moment, but we were on a bimetallic standard up until 1873. And do you think the day that they declared silver wasn't valid as money anymore, people could exchange it? Hell no. Of course they did. But so these things come about in a start, it's an idea, and then it's a Bitcoin, then it's an Ethereum, and then it's and on. Same thing in the honest money realm. More and more states, I think, will come into that sphere in different ways. Gold or silver-backed debit cards, gold or silver-backed cryptocurrency, depository in the state. And that's something to look for. And that, of course, retains our freedom and our anonymity to be able to spend our money as we well choose to do.
Gold is hovering around the $2,000 mark. How important is this price level for gold?
Well, in any commodity, gold included, there's always what we call these psychological barriers. They're at round numbers. And you could use it in corn, you could use it in soybean oil, it doesn't matter. So there is a resistance around that level. And once you get above it, and really technically above the old all-time high, and I don't know the exact number, it's 2,000 and change. Once you get beyond there and you trade at that level or higher, usually it only takes 3 consecutive days on decent volume. Then you're off to the races. And the reason you're off to the races is you're at a new high. And you're at a new high, there's no upward resistance. There's no one that wants to sell $2,100 gold because they bought it at $20. No one bought it at $2,100 yet. So any new buying will force the price up, 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 and up. Now, of course, there are people that will take profits. There will be some selling pressure. The futures market runs in an interesting way. There'll be a lot of professionals that'll be shorting into it. But nonetheless, I do think we're going to see a very strong market in gold and silver pretty much from this point on. Yes, we're going to get corrections. Yes, they're going to be sharp. And yes, they're going to be scary. Remember, Cassandra, for your viewers, our viewers, the bull market's function is to shake off as many people as it possibly can. That's why the analogy of riding a bull is so accurate, because you could be on the right platform, the bull, and yet not able to hold on through all the ups and downs and sell out too early. The people that are really going to make the money are the people that are, one, not overinvested, that have other assets that they are, comfortable with, maybe have low debt, and gold and silver are part of their portfolio, and they're going to go with the bull the whole way up, and they're not going to be shaken off until it's at least fair value, not overvalued. And that's one of my primary jobs, is to let my members know that, hey, look, this is how I measure it. This is why it's overvalued. We might think about lightening up or selling out.
Do you think we have more of a chance to see an all-time high in silver or gold this year?
This year? Well, I think, gold will make a new nominal high this year. I'm pretty convinced of that. Silver won't, in my view. It's been lagging. And what's interesting is the fundamentals of silver haven't been this good in a very long time. In fact, I could almost argue ever, because of the demand side on industry and primarily solar. So there's a lot of demand in silver. I think I said this before, but it bears repeating. Sort of like a stock buyback program. I mean, it's silver, over 50% of the market's industrial demand that cannot go anywhere else. It's essential. There's no substitute for it. They absolutely must use silver in their product or they're out of business. So that's like buying back 50% of the float every year. And then whatever's left, the other 50% goes to jewelry, silverware, and investment. And so I really think that silver is the place to be. I'm not anti-gold, as you well know. I think you should have them both. But I think once you get into the new realm for gold, you'll see silver accelerate at some point. And I think the lag won't be very long.
Okay, so we're seeing banks like Bank of America and JP Morgan report high profits amid the recent bank turmoil. What do you think that this says about the economy?
Nothing about the economy, and I don't want to push back hard on you. It's a great question. But I look at it this way, and not too many do. But the economy is the physical economy. How much wheat do we grow? How many new homes do we build? How many cars do we produce? What new ideas have come to the fore in the electronics world? All that is the physical economy. That is contracting, contracting, and contracting some more. You know, Best Buy is going to, I think they're going to off 25 stores. I mean, you go across the board in retail, even high-end retail like Nordstrom's. These are all contracting. So the physical economy is weak and getting weaker. So if we look at a number on the financial side and it's a big number, you got to compare that against reality. So the reality is we got a big number, but we got a contracting economy. What does that mean? It means the number's bogus. It means at some point, do you want a $50 trillion Zimbabwe note, or do you want $100 trillion Zimbabwe note? I mean, I'm being a bit facetious to make the point that this is all you hear from the mainstream, and it really could get to me. You can tell I've raised my voice. That look, and it is a distraction, and it's really almost lying to say that we're doing well because we've got a big number here. So it really is one of those things that I like to talk about. I'm really glad you brought it up because people need to know that their common sense is better than what most of this financial press and the mainstream have to say, and point at these numbers and yak and make people feel good. And they've got, and it's ridiculous, especially in the late stages of these currency collapses, which we're really in right now.
What do you think that it's a distraction from?
From the reality of what's going on. I think, if you're a, investor, you're 50, 60 and age isn't the point, but you've saved money, you've got an investment in the stock market, you might have some corporate bonds that are still paying a high yield. You might even have some precious metals and you're comfortable and those numbers make you feel good. But the reality is, if you look out your window and you see the number of stores that have closed in your town, there's something in your gut level that says, well, I'm getting what they call cognitive dissonance. My portfolio's got a nice fat number in it, but that shoe store, that's out of business. Oh, I love that restaurant. I didn't know they were going under, that type of thing. So I think it somewhat programs people to think that these numbers are important. And there are times when it can be. So I want to digress for a second or two. But when the Dow theory was started, it was very accurate because the numbers of the Dow and the industrials, transportations, and utilities were commensurate with the actual physical economic activity. But those days are long gone.
Well, that's all we have for you today. Before we let you go, though, could you let our audience know where they could go to hear more of your commentary?
Well, to you. More of it, you can get on our website, themorganreport.com. Don't forget to get on the free list because I don't know. I've been shadow banned for years, and I don't know. I've got a few strikes on YouTube, so if they take that off, I'm on Odyssey and others. But best way is I'll just mail them to you, and you can just put in a bogus name and put in a legit email, and then verify it, and you can get on the free list. The other thing is, for those silver bugs out there, there is still leverage in the mining sector. We've got a new pick that's coming out next month. I'm pretty excited about it. No one else is talking about it. So I like being first in those type of situations, Cassandra.
Perfect. Well, we'll stay tuned for that. And thank you so much for coming on, David. We really appreciate it.
My pleasure. Thank you.
To our viewers at home, thank you so much for tuning in today. We will be back, so if you like videos like these, consider giving our channel a follow by hitting that subscribe button below me there. Bye.